Colorado's Western Slope region is made up of 7 counties: Delta, Gunnison, Hinsdale, Mesa, Montrose, Ouray, and San Miguel. These counties are both linked and separated by a rugged and beautiful landscape, diverse cultures, and rich history. The communities that make up the region are driven by passion and commitment. The needs and assets of these communities are as diverse as the towns themselves. There are common themes within those needs that span the region, including the need for multi-use transportation support, effective leadership to effect change, education continuum from cradle to career, healthcare and mental health access, senior care, and affordable housing. Additionally, the region needs assistance in building the economy, accessing broadband, enhancing the arts, and protecting the environment. Nonprofit organizations play an important role in responding to the needs of these communities by providing a myriad of services, from food for the hungry to cultural entertainment to environmental stewardship. More than 450 nonprofit organizations operate within these 7 counties. Collectively, the rural communities and nonprofits serving the Western Slope are seizing an opportunity to increase their access to funding and build relationships to maximize their impact. Collaboration across sectors, geographies, boundaries, and organizations is an attainable and priority goal for this region.
Delta and Delta County is filled with people who take pride in what they do. We've been called individualistic, but we also come together when the need calls, when there are problems facing our community or when there are solutions that need to be brought. The community comes together and works as a whole.
You know, I've lived in Gunnison County for 23 years. There's really 4 words that come to mind when I think about this, the personality of this community. I would say active, resilient, caring, and for the most part, highly educated.
Lake City is based on a summer tourism economy, lots of outdoor recreation. People like to have fun there. It's a really great place to be outside and do lots of activities, and a lot of volunteerism and community gatherings.
Grand Junction happens to be the largest city between Salt Lake City and Denver, but we're geographically isolated. And so we've been very independent-minded, I think, and have had to create a lot of our own solutions.
It's a wonderful place to live, first of all. It's a place where you know a lot of people, where you feel like you can have an impact on what happens. It's a place where you want to raise a family.
I feel such a kinship with the people here because people are warm, caring, happy, why wouldn't you be, and respectful of one another. And that's been really key to me.
San Miguel County is much like a lot of the counties on the Western Slope. It has its own unique character. It's defined both by its geography, but obviously by the people that live there. It's a true Western community that has the full diversity of many of our counties in the Western Slope.
Economy is the #1 area we need help, and it's got to be a sustainable economic growth.
Development of a really solid technology infrastructure, I think, would really help us attract new and expanding businesses.
Being a summer tourist economy, it's always a challenge to try to create jobs so that people can live there year-round and therefore support the rest of the community.
We're always looking at diversification. In Ouray County, we rely really heavily on tourism. Between government and tourism, those are our main employers in the county. So what other opportunities do we have, especially with the emerging kind of boutique agriculture market, innovative technologies, mining, energy, natural resources? Those are definitely areas that we're trying to develop.
As far as workforce development, that's an ongoing need for Montrose County. We have a lot of industry for a community of our size, but we don't have a lot of training opportunities right here in our own backyard.
Ouray itself has seen a boom-bust cycle in the mining industry. So we're at the beginning of another boom where 2 mines have opened, but what happens in 10 to 15 years when they're kind of done with their time span? What happens to those highly paid and highly trained employees? Where do they go from there?
We may have employment opportunities for our families But if they don't have affordable quality child care opportunities, it's going to be very difficult for them to maintain family stability and their employment status. So from a regional perspective, opportunities to enhance the availability of quality, affordable child care is going to be very important.
We serve a broad range of people, certainly here at the university. Students from all 50 states in the Union, virtually every county in Colorado, and the adult learning populations in this valley through our extended university.
You know, we have a strong agricultural background, and oftentimes we're looking for opportunities to provide skills and learning and resources that combine our land use folks and also the ability for folks to learn to carry on those traditions.
We are one of the larger school districts. The Mesa County is one school district, District 51, but we tend to be one of the poorest funded districts in the entire state of Colorado. So getting funding for K-12 is a high priority for us, improving that funding, improving our schools.
Transportation, like every rural community, is critical because it basically defines your ability to get to services.
It's important for our tourism industry, it's important for this university because of our large population of non-resident students.
You know, I think right now we do a pretty good job. We have a good public transportation system, but we also have a very long waiting list for dial-a-ride transportation.
And transportation is an issue. It's an issue for our visitors coming here. It's an issue for healthcare. It's an issue for education. It's an issue for just making things work better.
Oftentimes there is a difference between income levels and the housing that is available to meet those needs. And so we feel that housing is not a standalone issue, but it's an issue that combines with a lot of other things that we discuss, like economic development, like job training, and like opportunity.
And oftentimes when people say, yeah, affordable housing, I like that. It sounds good. Most of the time what people are talking about is houses that they can afford.
As a healthcare provider, we are working hard to share information on patients so that we don't duplicate services. In other words, why do an MRI in Montrose and send the patient to Grand Junction only to have another MRI done? So it's very important for us to have some type of an infrastructure that allows us to transmit very memory-intensive data.
We do have some people that have moved from other parts of the country to Lake City and work year-round out of their homes, relying on broadband. And Lake City needs to have the top-notch service that everybody else in the country has in order to grow.
We are going as a state to all electronic testing, and so it's all going to be through the internet. That's going to be a huge difference in the near future. And right now, currently, the broadband width and the capacity that we have is not adequate to do all of our testing that we need.
Well, some of the challenges for any small community is being able to provide care within your community without having to necessarily leave. And a lot of the rural communities in western Colorado have to share resources with other communities, with other counties.
24-hour access to quality emergency services is critical. In Gunnison, there is one clinician who provides coverage during the day hours, and to be able to have access to a quality emergency behavioral health services 24 hours a day is really important.
I don't think enough folks are taking on the whole needs of the mental health services in the rural communities like they should.
We have very few mental health providers locally and have been dealing with the consequences of poor mental health, both in terms of substance abuse, other types of crime. Suicide is high in Mesa County. Our suicide rates are relatively high.
And the real trick to making change work is to involve as many different ideas and constituencies in the discussion of change as possible. Your idea may have been a good one, but somebody else may have a better one.
Directed change is the most productive change. And you can't affect change in a positive way without effective leadership.
We're lacking a little bit in that younger leadership role, but I think that that's something that this community is willing to work on. And again, just like the transportation issue, I think we just need one person that's going to stand up and say this is what we need to do, and I think that the community will follow.
We have great leadership, lots of people willing to do whatever it takes to make Lake City a better place. And I know there's a lot of collaboration with some other towns in the region that are very similar in size and scope, and I think that's going to be a big benefit in the future as well.
Clearly this Rural Philanthropy Days is leveraging both the government, but just as importantly the community itself and the nonprofits. And at the heart of that is the ability to lead on issues. We don't need to just keep talking about issues, we need to get out in front, make some decisions, and move things forward.